The Supreme Court has declined to stop Karen Read's retrial. The U.S. Supreme Court has denied Karen Read's emergency request to delay her state murder trial until it reviews her appeal. No explanation was given for the denial of her request. Read had filed an emergency petition on Monday asking the court for a stay of her retrial, which has begun jury selection pending review by the higher court on her claims of constitutional violation. It is set for April 25th of 2025, as we know. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson denied the request on behalf of the court. Read is accused of taking the life of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, in January of 2022. Prosecutors allege Read hit O'Keefe with her vehicle and left him there to pass away as Boston was hit with a major blizzard. Read has denied the allegations and maintained her innocence. Read is trying to claim that her retrial would violate double jeopardy after several jurors from her first trial said she was acquitted of 2 of the 3 counts. The judge declared a mistrial in Read's first trial last year after the jury could not reach a unanimous verdict. I really don't know if double jeopardy really applies there, because you are supposed to actually be given a verdict. This was not that. It was absolutely a mistrial because they couldn't come to a unanimous verdict. And you do have the constitutional, civil, and basic right to be tried by 12 of your peers. She was charged with first degree and manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle under the influence and leaving the scene of a fatal accident. She pleaded not guilty. Read's attorneys have asked multiple appeals courts and now the Supreme Court to dismiss the charges of second degree and leaving the scene of a fatal accident in the retrial. They argued in court filings that retrying her on the charges would violate double jeopardy protections because, based on subsequent statements from 4 jurors, the jury had reached a unanimous decision to acquit. All of those requests have been rejected by all judges. Her retrial was set for April 25th of 2025, and as of now, that's still the date. 3 new jurors were seated on Wednesday, bringing the running total to 15. The panel is comprised of 8 men and 7 women. The court seeks to seat 16 jurors in total, with 12 deliberating the case and 4 serving as alternates. Read told reporters outside the courthouse on Wednesday that the defense has used 11 of their 16 challenges and that the Commonwealth has used 12 during jury selection, according to WCVB. And of course, defense lawyers urged to re-examine convictions led by fired Karen Read detective. Michael Proctor's firing from the Massachusetts State Police over his handling of the Karen Read investigation could be a wake-up call to defense attorneys around the state, whose clients have been convicted based on his work. Proctor, a 12-year veteran, lost his job after an investigation into his handling of the case kicked off following Read's mistrial last year. During his testimony, a series of rude and lewd text messages he sent about Read were read in court, tanking his credibility in the eyes of at least some jurors. The internal review found he had improperly shared sensitive or confidential information about the investigation on top of derogatory texts. Our state police are wonderful guys and would never want to have a John O'Keefe situation in their own family, Grace Edwards, an Essex County-based trial attorney, told Fox News Digital. But what Michael Proctor did is he destroyed the public trust, and there is no way that people aren't out there saying, what else did he do? And what else are other people doing? It caused me tremendous pause to say, should I be going back and looking at my cases with state police? She added. I think that every attorney who has a case where Michael Proctor was the lead investigator should go back and take another look at it. The defense team for Brian Washi, 50, is doing just that. He is charged with the homicide of his 39-year-old wife, Anna, and Proctor was the lead investigator on his case, too. His lawyers have already demanded copies of all text messages Proctor sent about the case. The Massachusetts State Police fired Proctor last month after a months-long internal investigation into lewd text messages about Reed he sent while investigating O'Keefe's death. Texts that he conceded were unprofessional and that Reed's defense has seized on to illustrate alleged bias in the investigation. Prosecutors in the Walsh case have downplayed Proctor's involvement in their investigation as minimal and said they do not plan to call him to the stand. But the defense told the court he was present for numerous witness interviews and for evidence collection from the start of the case and onward. Reed faces charges for homicide and other charges in connection with the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe, who was her boyfriend at the time of his death. He was found deceased on another officer's front lawn the morning after a blizzard. Prosecutors allege she backed into him with her Lexus SUV and left him there to pass away from trauma to the head and hypothermia. Charges in the deadly hit-and-run case could bring as little as a 2 to 10 year sentence under Massachusetts law. However, a conviction on the murder charge could mean life in prison. Just the idea of a state prison sentence is very scary, and they get scared and they plead and they get something lesser, she said. Like the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, you've got to have attorneys out there who are willing to go toe-to-toe with a prosecutor and say, fine, we'll go to trial. Or just have a defense attorney that's just really good friends with the district attorney or prosecuting attorney, because that will also help, especially when calling in a favor, right? Or saying, hey, I'm going to turn this into the abuse excuse at trial, so you might want to do something favorable for my client. Reed chose the latter route, and that fight is what exposed Proctor's texts and cost him his job. Reed has turned herself into this narcissistic, infamous celebrity, very much like Amber Heard or the very much hated Meghan Markle or even Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Oh, and we cannot forget our favorite, Casey Anthony, because they actually believe that a jury coming back and saying this means that they can say publicly to the news, to social media, to mainstream media, I'm innocent. But we all know that they get it wrong in the incarceration system all the time. Juries get it wrong. Lawyers get it wrong. Judges get it wrong. The only thing that matters in this case is that there is justice for John O'Keefe. If you didn't know, he lost his sister to a brain tumor, and 5 months later, her husband passed. They had 2 young children who he had taken on as his own and were raising. So not only did those kids lose their mother and father, they then lost their guardian, their uncle. Karen Reed has always been very vocal and very adamant that she never wanted kids. She never wants to have kids. So why she was dating somebody that had 2 children that he was raising really raises questions for me. But I digress. It's really as simple as this. 2 people were in a car. 2 people go bar hopping. They're in another car going to an after party. They arrive at the after party. She starts throwing a fit in an argument because she finds out the guy that she's is inside that party and doesn't want to go in. They have open containers of alcohol. They're operating a motor vehicle intoxicated. Something happens. She leaves and goes back to her boyfriend's house, having left her boyfriend there in a blizzard on the front lawn where he had a skull fracture and ultimately ends up passing away from laying in a blizzard all night long. She's frantic all throughout the night, texting everybody. And early that morning, she goes back to the exact scene where she was very much inebriated, where she was driving, where she and him were the only 2 people in the car, and find him. I don't know why so many people defend her, but I personally think she's guilty. You let me know what you think down in the comments below.